Welcome to Affinity Designer. This video is ideal if you're new to vector designing and you have just discovered this award-winning app. I'll take you through some important features of Affinity Designer and I'll show you what you can start to achieve with this software. When you run Affinity Designer, the first thing you'll be greeted with is this welcome panel, which showcases the work of some artists. Click to select one. It also hosts a variety of samples you can take a look at. This icon here informs you that the sample is available for downloading. Simply click the thumbnail and the download will begin. Once the download is finished, the icon will disappear. Clicking the thumbnail a second time will load the sample. These samples are great for inspiration, and if you dig around, they can provide you with clues about how certain effects were achieved. You can access the welcome panel at any time from the Help menu. But what we really want to do is dive straight into creating our own design. So, from the File menu, select New. Just to note, in this video, when a command asks for it, I'll be using the menu toolbar, so you know where commands are located. However, if you find you're using a particular command frequently, it might be worth learning the shortcut key, listed here, as it will speed up the process for you later. So if I select New from the File menu, this dialog helps you set up your project in line with the final output, whether this be for print, web, or for an app. I'll select the Print Press Ready preset to quickly populate the remainder of the dialog. This will automatically set the document units to millimeters and the colour format to CMYK. It will also set the page size to A4, but you can set a custom size in this section. I'll set the width to 168 millimeters and the height to 260 millimeters, and then click OK. Our page opens in the workspace, and because we now have two projects open, each one displays a tab just under the context toolbar, so you can switch between them by clicking. But let's get on to the fun stuff. On the Tools panel, click to select the Rectangle tool. This allows you to create rectangles and squares within your design. I'll use it to define my background. Simply drag the cursor to cover the whole page. You can see the rectangle appears across our page with its boundary defined by these lines. You will also see the object is represented by an entry in the Layers panel. I'll recolor this rectangle black. On the Context toolbar, I'll click the Fill button, which reveals a pop-up panel. As I'm working in CMYK colour format, I'll select this from the pop-up menu. I'll then use the K slider to set the colour to 100% black. Now, to ensure I do not edit my background unintentionally, I'll lock it using this icon on the Layers panel. Notice that the handles on the shape have changed to crosses to indicate it is now locked. Now let's add another shape. If you look closely at this icon, you'll notice a small grey triangle in the bottom right corner. This indicates that this button represents a group of tools rather than a single tool. Click the small grey triangle to display a pop-up menu with a huge list of shapes. I'm going to choose the Tier tool and then drag on my page. On the Tools panel, you'll see the icon updates to display the last tool selected from the group. This allows you to quickly access it later. Again, you'll see the Tier shape has been added to the page and to the Layers panel. However, as the fill colour is identical to the background rectangle, it's invisible. So I'll recolor it using the HSL wheel available from the Colour panel. Not only does the colour update on the shape, but it also updates on the Context toolbar and the Colour panel. Note that the donut-shaped selector represents the stroke or outline of the object, while the circle selector represents the fill of the object. The really cool thing about Designer's geometric shapes is that they exist with multiple iterations built in. Dragging these red nodes will morph the default shape. You can play around with these as much as you like until the shape takes on the design you want. In fact, I encourage you to take some time to add each shape to your page and play with their nodes to discover which variations they offer. Okay, so I'm going to rework this shape back into a traditional teardrop, and then I'll select the Move tool from the Tools panel. Notice how the red nodes on the shape have vanished. That's because I've switched tools. The shape can still be edited using the Context toolbar. However, to view the red nodes again, you need to select either the Tier tool again or the Node tool. But let's switch back to the Move tool. You can do this quickly by pressing V on your keyboard. The name of this tool, the Move tool, is a bit misleading. It can of course be used to move objects by simply dragging them, but it can also be used to resize them using these handles. Now, with that in place, let's add more to our design using the professional vector designer's favourite tool, the Pen tool. The Pen tool allows you to draw any curve or shape and comes with several modes: Pen, Smart, Polygon, and Line. We have other videos which look at these in more detail, but as an overview, Line mode draws a single straight line between 2 points. Polygon mode draws straight lines between multiple points, which connect with sharp corners. Pen mode is for the experts who wish to draw Bezier curves efficiently. And then there's Smart mode, the mode I'll use now. This mode allows me to click along my page every time I want to change in direction. Designer will connect these points with a beautifully curved line. If I click to create points that encompass an area, and then click back on the original point, I create a closed shape. I want this shape to have the same fill colour as my teardrop. So if I display the Swatches panel by clicking its label, I can see the most recent colours which have been applied in my project. Currently, my shape has no fill, indicated by this white circle with a red line through it. However, if I click this swatch, the fill is recoloured. The advantage of the Pen Smart mode is that it quickly allows you to set down nodes. You can then go back and refine these using the Node tool. Simply drag a curve between two nodes, drag a node, or drag node handles. Press the Escape key twice until nothing is selected and you can see the current design. So I want the teardrop to appear as if it's oozing from the shape up here. If I select the Zoom tool and drag several times, I will zoom into the place where the shapes overlap. There is a thin line which cuts across the tear. This is the stroke of the shape I drew with the Pen tool. I can remove this by selecting the Move tool and clicking the shape. Then I'll change the stroke selector on the Swatches panel to None using this icon. If I now press the Escape key, you can clearly see the line has disappeared and the two shapes look to merge seamlessly. I'll quickly zoom out to display the entire page by going to the View menu and selecting Zoom to Fit. Another useful tool is the Place Image tool. This allows you to add a range of images to your design. Click the icon and then select your preferred image and click Open. A single click will then add the picture to the page at its native resolution. Now, I added a logo indicating that this could be the design of a book cover. So let's add some text. On the Tools panel, select the Artistic Text tool and then click on the page. Then type some text such as Ketchup for Blood. You might not be able to see that because it's so small and black like the background. So let's change that. Press the Escape key once to pull out of text editing mode, but leave the text object selected. On the Context toolbar, change the point size of the text to 48 and the fill colour to white. You can also change the font to something more interesting. I chose Trattatello. If you switch back to the Move tool, you can reposition the text anywhere on the page. Now, all the operations we've looked at so far have been vector based. This will be the case for most of the work you do in Designer. However, one major strength of this app is the ability to seamlessly combine vector manipulation with raster elements. So I'll show you this next. Up until now, I've been working solely in Draw Persona. However, if I click this icon here, I'm transported to an entirely new environment with a whole host of new and exciting tools. This is Pixel Persona, and these new tools allow me to create and manipulate pixels within my design. I'm going to keep it very straightforward for this video and simply add some texture to my design using the paintbrush tool. I'll paint in red, so to do this I simply select the selector I wish to apply to my brush from the colour panel, and then of course I can also update this colour from here or the swatches panel. Now, to keep your design as non-destructive as possible, pixels should be painted on a new layer. Fortunately, Designer will create this new layer for us when we make our first brush stroke, like so. This message is telling me just that. You can see the new layer has been added in the layer panel. Now, by default, the paintbrush tool comes with a tip which will give a circular stroke which fades at the edge. Instead, I want to use a brush tip which will give a texture to our page. So I'll undo this painted stroke by going to the Edit menu and selecting Undo. You'll see the pixel layer stays in place on the Layers panel. Then from the Brushes panel, I'll select Texture from the pop-up menu, and then select a brush tip, say Grunge 4, from the gallery. Notice that the cursor has changed to represent the new brush tip we have applied to our paintbrush tool. I will then increase the width of the brush using the context toolbar, and then drag across my page to lay down pixels. You'll notice that my pixel painting has covered other objects on my page. This is because newly created objects are placed by default above older content. You can of course change the order of objects at any time by either dragging the object's entry up and down in the Layers panel, or by using the order commands on the toolbar. For instance, moving it right to the back using this icon, and then forward one using this icon, so it sits below all objects apart from our locked background rectangle. Now I've completed all this work, it's a good idea for me to save it. I do this by going to the File menu and selecting Save. The first time I do this, I give my project a name and tell Designer where to store it. The project file will be saved as an AF design file, and then I click Save. Additional saves will overwrite the previous version, though you can always save it to another file using the Save As command. If you need to share your design with other people and they haven't got Affinity Designer, you'll need to export it at an industry standard image file. This can be done by selecting Export from the File menu. We cover exporting in several other tutorials. This video has covered some of the fundamental tools and techniques in Affinity Designer, and I hope I've given you some idea of how you can quickly build up designs and illustrations. But honestly, this video has barely scratched the surface of the power of Designer. We're keen to show you everything that this fantastic app can do, so please check out our comprehensive help system and our other online tutorials, all accessed from the Help menu. Thanks for watching.